So what then is DevOps? Well, I've already alluded to this with a clue earlier on, and I've said it's the amalgamation of two different silos, if you remember. The coming together of two silos who typically, over the years, wouldn't have even spoken to each other. Development and operations. They were distinct silos for 40 years. And then someone had the idea, why don't we bring these guys together so that they can actually discuss the product? So what is DevOps? Well, firstly, let's look at what it isn't. DevOps is not a tool or a software product. It's not a language. It's not a networking protocol. It is not something that's specific to the cloud. And it isn't a specific role, although there are DevOps-based roles. So let's go there. As I mentioned earlier, historically there have been two different silos, and never the twain shall meet in the old way of thinking. Developers are these amazing groups of people who are very creative. They've got a certain personality. They work in a certain way. And they were historically always used to creating this beautiful thing, this software. And they thought of it as a child, giving birth to this new creation. But then, after that creation came to fruition, they pretty much lost interest, and they would pass it over to this group called operations. Now, operations is a very different group of people. They have a different personality. They're not into kind of being lauded all the time and creating things. They're much more kind of come in every day and keep the show running type of people. So, of course, they were left holding the baby, metaphorically, for the rest of its life. And they were the ones, people like help desk and administration, who knew what the flaws of the software were. Because users were always complaining to them, what about this? What about this? What about this? Now, if you've noticed, both of the previous methods, Agile and Waterfall, they both still had one thing in common, which was that there was an end product that was deemed to be a beautiful working masterpiece. What DevOps assumes is that firstly, there is no end beautiful masterpiece. What DevOps is a culture of deep collaboration designed to make these two departments of development and operations work together. And instead of just launching a product and forgetting it, they would bring the product back in from ops. So once operations understands the flaws within the software, it would be thrown back into the development environment where they would reproduce, retest, and redeploy the new software in this infinite cycle of testing, development, deployment, testing, development, deployment. And so what we're saying is DevOps is a cultural change within an organization that actually brings the two departments together and encourages ongoing development of the end product. Now, this is a huge area, and I'm going to quickly, not go through any of this, but quickly tell you, so what is a DevOps engineer? What a DevOps engineer essentially is one of two people. Either a DevOps engineer is a developer from the past who is now very understanding of networks, is quite happy to sit down and discuss infrastructure, maybe even take on some infrastructure-based terminology. Or a DevOps engineer is a systems administrator of the past who has really had nothing to do with development. They've only been doing networking and infrastructure. But now they are quite happy to understand more about development and kind of get involved in that world as well. So when you think about a DevOps engineer, it's one of two people whose trajectory might have come from two different angles, either a developer or an administrator. But now this new entity called a DevOps engineer knows the best of both worlds. Huge area. DevOps can be thought of as an evolution of the Agile approach. So DevOps is a cultural change within an organization and again, a way of working to make software production even more efficient, even more relevant. And that, of course, impacts recruitment as well. These two areas of Agile and DevOps are so huge in themselves that they need their own recruitment masterclasses, and I have created those on the platform. Go and seek them out. But for now, you are absolutely up to speed with how these people create systems and its relevance in IT recruitment.